Hi, I'm Bobby Tunstall. I'm the pastor of youth and family discipleship here at Stonehill Church in Princeton, New Jersey. Now, we're 3 weeks into our series on dating in our youth group. And this week, we looked at the topic of sex. But we focused in on the gospel. Now, I would assume for some people that putting the word sex and gospel in the same sentence can make you a little uncomfortable. But before you get too uncomfortable, let me say that if it wasn't for sin, when we think of the word sex, or we think of sex, we would automatically think the gospel. But before we can get to that conclusion fully, we need to talk about theology a little bit. God designs all creation with purpose and intention, and that includes sex. But before sex, that includes marriage. Now, God created marriage for the man and woman to be a type. In theology, a type is an event or a person or a statement in the Bible that points to something greater than itself. For one example in the Old Testament would be the Passover lamb. When God was rescuing his people out of Egypt, they were to slaughter a lamb and to put the blood on the outside of the house. And that was a type that represented something bigger than just a lamb in the house. That was more than dinner for the night. That was a picture of what Jesus Christ was going to do, ultimately save us from the bondage of slavery of sin. So, in Ephesians chapter 5, we see Paul clearly tell us that marriage is a type of the gospel. He says that husbands are to love their wives as Christ loved the church and gave himself up for the church. Wives are supposed to submit and serve their husbands just as the church is supposed to submit and to love Christ, the head of the church. And then he says in verse 31, "Therefore, a man shall leave his father and his mother, and hold fast to his wife, and the two shall become one flesh." Verse 32, he says, "This mystery is profound, and I'm saying that it refers to Christ and the church." So here we have it. Paul says the man holds fast to his wife, and they become one flesh. This is a mystery. Two people in the relationship of marriage, they become one flesh. So sex was designed for the marriage relationship. And we see biblically that the act of sex fulfills the requirement of a man and a woman to be married. But sin has perverted sex so much in our society today that not only do we not think gospel when we hear the word sex in marriage, but when we hear the word sex, we don't even think about marriage anymore. So we continue to talk more about the importance of living within the goodness of God's desired will for his creation. And in high school, I also brought up the consequences of accepting perversions of sexuality. We can't ignore the cultural reality of accepted perversion, which I think is ultimately symbolized in pornography. Now, there's a lot of consequences to living promiscuous lives. And so people say, well, I'm not going to be involved in physicalness of sexuality. I'll do things alone on my own and enjoy pornography because I'm not hurting anyone. It's not physical. It's just me. But that's just a lie on so many levels. First of all, with ourselves, if you are looking at pornography, there are a lot of side effects to that. First, psychological problems. It's studied that men go into depression and just a lot of things happen with our minds. Actually, our brains actually get rewired for pleasure and the understanding of sex. It makes sex selfish. We start to objectify people, and we no longer see loving daughters and sons of God, but we just see objects for pleasure. There's lies about gender and roles in gender when it comes to pornography. And also it does hurt other people because it feeds into sex trafficking all around the world. But most egregiously, it distorts the gospel of Jesus Christ. It robs God of what he originally designed this to look like and to be. And we take it and we make it something completely different. So, how can we survive in such a twisted culture and remain pure? And I say that the same thing that sex is supposed to point to is the thing that's going to save us, and that's the gospel of Jesus Christ. So next week is our last lesson in the dating series. If you have any questions for me at all, any comments, please feel free to contact me. Thanks for watching this, supporting the ministry. God bless you.